Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. So today I am back to do another book haul revisit where I gaze back 12 months at the book haul that I was doing this time last year and considering, have I actually read everything that I picked up? Am I just buying and then not actually reading anything? And with this we are looking at my pre-birthday book haul, which was one that was posted in March of 2023. Kind of seems a bit cocky and arrogant to be like, I am just so sure that I'm going to be buying or receiving so many books at my birthday that I have to have a separate pre-birthday book haul. Look at me. But these were different books that I picked up in February to March. So without much further ado, let's get straight into these books. First up, we have two books that have the same title and are on the same theme. The Library Book by Susan Orlean, and then The Library Book, which is an essay collection by multiple different authors. I had read The Library of Fragile History back in January and really enjoyed it, and it kind of spurred me on to reading more books about libraries. And I had promised that I was going to do a video about these library books, and I never did it. It's my fear of scripting coming out to play. But I did read both of these in February 2023. They were already read by the time of the book haul, so I can tick two off the list. I would say though that out of the three different library books that I read, my favourite definitely is The Library of Fragile History. It is a chunky history, somewhat dense in places, but I found it overall to be a little bit more uplifting, with this message being that libraries do adapt to different wants and needs, changing technologies. What is really needed is more government funding or more government recognition on the importance of libraries. Next up, a bit of a change in topic, we have Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. This is Talia Hibbert's first YA romance, focusing on two academic rivals who go on this kind of Duke of Edinburgh-esque adventure and end up falling in love. Unfortunately, this is one that I ended up DNFing. It's one that I talk about in my 50 romance books that I've read video as being one of the ones I DNF'd purely because I could not stay in this mental space of being back to being like 16, 17 years old, being back in that secondary school setting, thinking about UCAS applications. Oh, it just brought out something in me that I forgot that I had. Something buried came out and I didn't like it. So as great as I'm sure this book is, I did end up putting it down, which is a shame because I do really like Talia Hibbert's writing style. Next up is The Secret Diary of Charles Ignatius Sancho by Paterson Joseph. 18th century history looking at this freed black man in England who did actually exist and we do have diary evidence of. And it's one that I read in April 23. I really enjoyed this one. I feel like there is a little bit of a tone shift towards like the 2/3 mark of the book, which just lessened it ever so slightly for me, but this is one that I would definitely love to see adapted into a TV series or a film, and it is very well written. You can really tell that this was Paterson Joseph's like baby, a project that he'd been working on for about 20 years I believe. Next up is Elizabeth of York, The Last White Rose by Alison Weir. This is her fictionalisation of Elizabeth of York's life. This is one I ended up reading in March 2023 for her storyathon, and it was my favourite book that I read and one of my favourite books of the year. If you want to see more thoughts, I will link my reviews down below. We then have King of Shadows by Susan Cooper. This is a time travel historical fiction which sees a teenage boy in modern day being transported through an illness back to late 16th century England, performing with Shakespeare's troupe. This one I believe is middle grade. It's a really great resource for young people to learn more about Renaissance England and the London that Shakespeare was living in. So there were times with this where it did feel a little bit info dumpy, but then I'm not necessarily the target audience. I do know things about Shakespeare's London already. I don't really need it to be thrown in my face quite so much, but I thought it was really interesting. I really enjoyed the depiction of Shakespeare. It's also one that I'm going to be going back to later on over the next couple of months because I have a little Shakespeare project that I'm working on at the moment. More details of soon. Next up we have Woman's Law by Sarah Clegg. 4,000 Years of Sirens, Serpents and Succubi, looking at the history and mythology around different female demonic figures and where these fears and stories originated from and what it says about historic and contemporary attitudes to women as a whole. This is one that I also read in May 2023. I thought it was really interesting and I'm quite keen actually to pick up this fiction book called Lilith. Lilith and the story around her is quite a key component to the early chapters of Women's Law, and it's a figure that I just didn't really know anything about, and so I'm very grateful for Sarah Clegg for opening up this world to me. Then next we have Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I picked this one up after listening to the Heaving Bosoms 2 episodes on this book because it sounded very interesting. We have an actor who is like the lead of a famous TV show which is kind of reminiscent of Game of Thrones in terms of its fan base and its culture, and he comes to the defense of one of his fans who is a plus size woman who is posting pictures of herself in cosplay online and getting a lot of online trolls. When he comes to defend her on Twitter, the trolls end up turning on him and saying, oh, you're just trying to be a white knight. You'd never actually date someone who looks like her. And so in response, he decides to very publicly ask her out. They go on a date, they seem to hit it off very well, and then he realises that he knows her as a fellow fanfiction writer. But of course, he's writing fanfiction in secret because if the show that he works on were ever to find out, there would be serious legal ramifications for some of the things that he said about the show he works on. And so they're both falling in love, but there's this big secret in the middle. Another book which I read straight straight away upon acquiring it, because I do just find this celebrity normal person pairing to be really, really fun. Another one that featured on my 50 romance books video, and you can see thoughts about that down below. Penultimate book from this pre-birthday book haul was Macbethad by Isabelle Schuler, a fictionalised account of the life of the real Lady Macbeth, who did end up becoming the Queen of Scots, or Gruach as she is named in the book. This is very much looking at an early life of Gruach, and is one that I read in March 2023, once again for History-a-thon. I really enjoyed this. I found it very atmospheric. I really enjoyed seeing this very early portrait of someone who we know is going to grow up to be quite calculating, quite tricky, but it's only like the seedlings of that personality that is to come. I love the little Macbeth references that are breadcrumb throughout this book, but are never like over the top and bashing you on the head. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And then finally, the last book from this pre-birthday book haul is Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati, a fantastic Greek myth retelling recounting the life of Clytemnestra. I read this one in May 2023. I remember it was around the time that we had a bit of a heat wave, an unexpected heat wave in the UK. Reading this one on the way to Sainsbury's to get myself a fan for my room. I don't know if you needed that detail, but there it is. But yeah, it kind of added to the atmosphere, imagining myself in Greece, training to be a warrior, even though look at me, I could never be a warrior. But I really enjoyed Costanza Casati's depiction of Clytemnestra. It was a bit of a different one to the ones I've read. I've actually read 3 Clytemnestra retellings in 2023, and this was by far my favourite. She's this fierce warrior who is, you know, different to the other girls, but that is not necessarily how she is depicted. She's not like high and mighty because of the fact that she's different. She's very supportive of other women in her life and doesn't expect that just because she has these skills that every girl has to have these skills in order to be seen as worthy. It's a very brutal depiction. Nothing is toned down, and so you do genuinely find yourself on her side. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and definitely looking forward to anything that Costanza Casati writes next. So there were 10 books that I hauled in this month, and you may have noticed that I actually read 9 of them and DNF'd 1. So everything that I ended up picking up in March of 2023, I did eventually, in the course of the year, at least pick up. So I think that is pretty successful. I feel like I have had a couple of good successful book haul revisits, but unfortunately I know what is to come, and my actual birthday book haul may be different. I don't know. Stay tuned for that. Do let me know if you've read any of the books I've spoken to you about today. Alternatively, let me know about anything that you've loved and enjoyed recently. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.